The Galactic Confederation had always believed their military forces to be the most elite in the galaxy. Their soldiers were bred for war, with enhancements and training that surpassed anything they had ever encountered, until they met humans. Commander Zivrak of the Carthan Dominion was curious. The Galactic Council had allowed humanity to join their ranks only recently, and whispers of the human military prowess began to ripple through the stars. The Carthans, one of the most feared warrior species in the galaxy, were skeptical. How could a species from a peaceful world of blue skies, green fields, and temperate climates even compare to the battle-forged races from harsher worlds? But the rumors persisted. It was said that humans had fought brutal wars, almost wiping themselves out several times over in the process. The stories were hard to believe. Humans had only been in space for a short time. What could they possibly know about true warfare? Zivrak had to see it for himself. He volunteered to be part of the inspection team, visiting Earth's most prestigious military academy, the Titan Academy. When his ship landed, he was greeted by the Academy's commander, General Sarah Walker, an older human with graying hair and a sharp gaze that immediately made Zivrak uneasy. It was rare that another species could unsettle him. As the tour began, the commander quickly realized this wasn't the typical military academy. The humans didn't train their soldiers for combat in a sterile, controlled environment. They immersed them in chaos. Zivrak watched in horror as cadets were thrown into grueling simulations that mimicked the chaos of actual war: explosions, surprise attacks, and limited supplies. The simulations felt too real. "Why do you do this?" Zivrak asked, disturbed, as he saw cadets running with bleeding wounds and strained faces. "To prepare them for what they'll face," General Walker responded coolly. "War is ugly. We don't sugarcoat that." In one particularly unnerving exercise, the cadets were dropped into a vast wilderness with no supplies. Zivrak thought it was an extreme survival course, but Walker corrected him. "This is their mental endurance test. They need to survive for a week, alone, with only their wits." "What happens if they fail?" Zivrak asked. "They don't," Walker said grimly. "Failure means death." Zivrak felt a cold chill run through his body. Even the Carthan military didn't take such brutal approaches. Their soldiers were given support, their training facilities clean and safe. Here, the humans treated war with a rawness that bordered on madness. He continued through the academy, witnessing soldiers drilled in strategies that seemed unnecessarily complex, fighting in simulations where the odds were stacked against them. They weren't just training for battle. They were training to endure unthinkable loss and suffering. It was as though the humans were preparing for the very worst the galaxy could throw at them, and still expecting to come out alive. Near the end of the tour, Zivrak witnessed something that stayed with him long after he left Earth. A group of young recruits stood in a courtyard, dressed in full combat gear. They were sparring, pushing their limits, and fighting with an intensity that seemed more fitting for a death match than training. The shouts, the brutal punches, and the lack of hesitation in their actions told him one thing. These humans didn't just fight for victory. They fought like they had nothing left to lose. When the tour concluded, Commander Zivrak boarded his ship to return to the Carthan Dominion. His mind raced as he considered everything he had seen. The humans' endurance, their willingness to embrace suffering, and their capacity for violence were far greater than he had imagined. These weren't soldiers, they were survivors. Survivors who had turned war into an art of brutal pragmatism. As his ship ascended into the void, Zivrak couldn't shake the feeling of dread that had settled over him. The Galactic Council had invited the humans into the fold, thinking they could keep them in check. But after witnessing their military training, he knew the truth. The galaxy had underestimated them. Zivrak composed his report, his talons shaking as he typed the final line. "Pray the humans never decide we are their enemies."